Dear viewers, welcome to yet another edition of Your Life, Your Money. Many of you are do-it-yourself investors. Many of you have messaged me in the past many times asking me to give a process which can be followed by do-it-yourself investors. I listen to you, I am heeding to your advice. Today I am releasing the secrets that I have followed over the 30 years period and created very successful financial life for thousands of people across globe. If you are able to follow this process, you can be one of the finest financial planner yourself. Watch this program till the end. Every point that I am going to discuss today has to be adhered without even a little bit of deviation. This is NRI Money Clinic for you, and I am Dr. Chandrakant, but your financial guide for a happy living.
NRI Money Clinic. No hype, just the right advice.
Dear viewers, I have done this program keeping do-it-yourself investors in mind. Or those of you who ask us what is the process that I follow, how we create successful plans for so many of our clients, here is the secret that I am sharing with you. This is a step-by-step guide. Either you can do it under my guidance or you can do it yourself in your life, and you can create very successful outcome by following this process. Let's look at it in a step-by-step manner. Step number 1, identify your life goals. Clearly mention why you are investing. This is the first step that you have to do, and you have to write it down. It's just not that you make a mental assumption that I am doing it for A, B, C purpose. No, you have to write it down very clearly. This is the reason why I am investing. It could be a life goal. It could be your aspiration. It could be your individual preference that I want to do it. Somebody wants to buy a Ferrari. Somebody wants to build a funds for a retirement purpose. Somebody wants to build wealth for the purpose of charity. Whatever could be the reason, you have to identify why I am doing this investment. If you do not identify this, there is no doubt that it will go for a toss. Once you identify the purpose why you are doing the investment, the next step that you have to follow is categorize these purposes as your needs or as these are your wants. For example, if you are doing an investment for the sake of buying a car, it can be a need or it can be a want. If you want to build wealth for purchasing a car, it could be your need. But if you say, I have to buy that fancy car, it could be a want. If you are building funds for the sake of retirement, it becomes your need. So categorize these purpose for which you are investing as your needs or wants. If there is a conflict, then your needs will be prioritized over your wants. So it is essential you have to demarcate very clearly what is my need, what is my want. What is the next step? Once you demarcate these needs and wants and the purpose for which you need to invest, the next step is to identify what is the time that is available for me to achieve these goals. These could be your short-term goals. These could be your medium-term goals. These could be your long-term goals. For example, if you want to buy a car in next 3 years, it becomes your short-term goal. If your children are going to college in next 5, 7, 8 years, it becomes a medium-term goal. If your retirement for which you are planning, if it is 20 years away, it becomes your long-term goal. You have to categorize. One category, needs and wants. Second category, how much time do I have and which category it falls into. If it is less than 3 years, short-term. If it is 3 to 10 years, I would say, could be a medium-term, and more than 10 years will be a long-term goal. The next step is projections. How much money I need for all these things. This is the area where do-it-yourself investors make a big mistake. You should not be projecting too much into the future. See, people come to me and say, I will be retiring by 45 years of age or 60 years of age. I computed 8% inflation and my target is to get 20 crores amount of money for retirement. No, this is not realistic. This is definitely not realistic. A simple way, if you have to project, is project the amount of money you need clearly for your short-term goals, make reasonable assumptions for medium-term goals, and for long-term goals, do not project anything. You may think I'm a madman. Oh, the whole world is telling you project, you calculate how much it has to be done. And I'm telling you the reason why you should not project. The reason why you should not project for long-term goals is the future is always uncertain. The projections can be made when things are very certain. If you are very certain that this is going to happen, this will be your income, this will be your interest, this will be the inflation trajectory, then you can make a projection. But I can tell you for certain that the future is so uncertain. I'll tell you what happened in my own life. 84 to 95, the interest rate was 14% and it was matching with the underlying inflation. Then came the year 2000. In less than 5, 6, 7 years, then the interest rate started dropping, and by 2007-8, interest rates have dropped down to zero in the US. By the year 2000, you could see in the US there were guaranteed return funds which are giving 10% in the dollar terms, and in next 10 years it dropped down to 0%. Likewise, the inflation, which was very high, literally dropped to a level which is less than 1% in US within the next 10 years. And people thought it is impossible to kick up inflation in US. People made projection thinking that there will be 2% inflation in US. What happened now? Inflation is at 7-8%. So when it comes to question of your long-term planning, do not make projections. Instead, just allocate the resources and see how you can invest this money. But if it is a short-term goal, let's say that you have to pay for a holiday 3 years down the line. So you can make a projection. I need so much of money. It can vary by about 5-10%, but you can be very, very reasonable. This is the amount of money you want. Likewise, from a medium-term perspective, you can make reasonable projections. Even medium term cannot be exactly predicted, but you can make reasonable projections. So be rational, find out where you are right now, and adding 5%, 6%, whatever that you want to add, you can do, and you can do a projection. So simple things to remember: project correctly for short-term goals, project reasonable for medium-term goals, do not make projections for long-term goals. It is a working formula. So once you're finished with this step one, what I said, identifying the needs, wants, reasons why you invest and other things, the second step is evaluate your life now. Evaluate what you earn. Evaluate what you spend. Evaluate your savings. Evaluate your liabilities. Evaluate your assets. You could be 35, 40 years of age. You could have been earning for many number of years. You could have built some assets. During this process, you could have had some EMIs, car loan, personal loan, your property loan, any of these things could be there. You know how much you earn. You know what could be your spending. So you should establish what is that I have to spare for achieving all these life goals. This evaluation should be done, and when you evaluate, do not evaluate it yourself. You must always involve your spouse in this dealings, because if you are a family, you plan and your spouse thinks in another way, it can go for a toss. So if you are doing a good proper financial planning, it makes absolute sense for you to involve your spouse. Now that you have got a figure, what is that you can save every month, and you also know what are my assets, and you also know what are your liabilities. What is the next step to follow? The next step to follow is, I know what I want to do, my future goals, and I know what I can spare for that. An ideal situation is you should be able to allocate resources for all the things that you want to do with these savings. This is again the mistake many youngsters do. They know what they are going to save and they try to do all things simultaneously. I say ideally you should be able to give allocation for each and every life goal what you want to achieve. But it is an ideal situation. But in a practical situation, I can tell you in 90% of the cases, it is not possible to allocate resources for all the life goals that you want to achieve. That is a reality. See, if you are a youngster who is watching this episode, you could be in the beginning phase of your career. Your salary could be small. You could be passing through that initial expense period where you have to buy everything, you have to do everything. Your saving abilities are smaller. So then, even though ideally it says that you have to do all the things with your savings, practically speaking, it is not possible. If it is practically not possible, what's the solution? Does it mean to say that you should jettison your life goals and you should forget about it? What should you be doing for that? Again, you have to take step-by-step process here. If your resources are not sufficient enough, which in most cases is the truth, then you should follow a protocol. The protocol is your needs should be first attended and the wants should come later. Allocate towards the needs and the wants have to be kept for a future date. Now you know that you do not have adequate resources to achieve all these things. Maybe reduce your expenses. Maybe do something which will increase your earnings as times pass by. Add that skill, change the job, move to another geography, whatever it takes to increase your earnings, you do that particular thing. But you are under control. What needs to be done on that? Then you can use this method. Give maximum allocation for things you want to do in the short term. Again, I am repeating here, short term should be your need, not the wants. So let's say that you have to achieve something. Let's say that there is a sister's marriage in 2 years or 3 years from now, and it is an event which will follow, and there is an expense. So out of your savings, you should allocate a highest proportion to achieve these short-term needs. It must happen. Then what happens to the rest of the needs? You must also attempt to put some allocation for the longest life goal, which could be your retirement. See, if your longest life goal is 20, 25, 30 years later, then because you have lesser resources, you should not start it late. You must make some allocation to the farthest goal you have in your life. Why do I say? You can postpone it. Why should you start early? If your farthest life goal is attempted today, you can make time work in your favor. Therefore, let's say that you are able to save ₹1,00,000 and you can put 10,000 rupee for the distant life goal called the retirement or whatever that other thing that you have in your mind. The remaining money has to be utilized for either short-term goals or towards the medium goals. Now you have such a small saving pot and you are not able to attend to each and everything. First, short-term goals, then give a small allocation to the long-term goals, forget medium-term goals for the time being. That's the method you should follow. Why do I say this? Because the medium-term goals will become short-term after some time. There is still time. You don't need to work on the time factor over there. Your salaries might rise, or maybe during your evaluation phase, you may say that my car loan is going to end in another 6 months or 12 months, or my personal loans are going to get over by 24 months. You can identify, so this liability gets over and I will allocate that for the medium term goals. Likewise, you would have done some assets prior to that. You could have done a policy which matures in next 6-7 years, or you could have a bank fixed deposit which could be maturing, or you could have lent some money to a friend of yours who could be returning that money. All those things can be allocated for the medium term goals. So simple thing, remember, needs should get priority over wants. If you are short of money, the way to attempt is give maximum allocation for short term needs and small but definitely an allocation towards the long term goals. Now that you have finished 2 steps, 1, identification of the goal, 2, evaluation of your life, savings, what you need to do and other things, the next step is investing. When you go for investing, the first step that you have to do is identify the assets that are available for you to invest. Asset classes. I'm not telling the products here, I am telling the asset classes. I'm not telling a mutual fund, I'm not telling a ULIP, I'm not telling a bank fixed deposit, but I am telling an asset class. Understand the difference between a product and an asset class. An asset class is A fixed income, the one which pays you regularly some amount of money either as a payout or it adds to your invested amount. That's called a fixed income. Or it could be something which goes through a capital appreciation, could be stock market related investment like direct stocks or a mutual funds or a ULIP or a PMS or an ETF. Anything could be the thing, the one which goes through capital appreciation, or could be the land, the real estate. So fixed income could be one asset class, stock market could be, or the equity could be another asset class, real estate could be the third asset class, commodities could be the fourth asset class. Under commodities you get the precious metals like gold, silver, different types of materials. Anything can come under the commodities. Broadly speaking, these are the four asset classes in which you can invest your money. And each asset class has its behavioral points. They behave in a particular way. They behave in a particular way in a particular situation. For example, fixed income looks very easy. Fixed income is quite complex. It's not that easy as people think. It is more complex many times than the equity itself. See, under fixed income, you can do the post office schemes. Under fixed income, you can do the bank fixed deposit. Under fixed income, you can do RBI floating rate bonds. Under fixed income, you can buy the bonds. Under fixed income, you can buy credit risk funds. You can buy the government bonds. So there are varieties of fixed income options which are available. If you're a do-it-yourself investor, you should know exactly how each of these instruments behave under what conditions. People say, I want to put money in bonds. But do you know, bonds have also volatility which gets built into it. Bond prices will fall when the interest rate rise. Bond prices will increase when the interest rates fall. It's not a straightforward equation like a bank fixed deposit. The bank fixed deposits have a risk which are there with that. A bank fixed deposit gets insured to an extent of only 5 lakh rupees. A bank fixed deposit has a reinvestment risk. You book a bank FD for a particular period of time, and after that particular time, you have to reinvest this at the prevailing interest rate. So each and everything that you pick up here has a behavioral aspect of it. And if you're a do-it-yourself investor, you must know the behavioral aspect of each and every asset class, and under that asset class, the instruments which you take. For example, in case of equity, you can pick up the direct stocks, which means to say you can make tons of money, you can lose money completely. A mutual fund will give you a diversified investment opportunity. It has 10% taxation. A unit-linked insurance plan could be more suitable for a retirement purpose. In the short term, it may not work. Likewise, a ULIP plan may not work for small ticket sizes, whereas for a high ticket sizes, it has its own advantages around that. So a PMS has a hurdle of 50 lakh rupees at the entry level. So understand the instruments, what you want to invest. Likewise, commodities. The commodities will perform under demand supply favorable conditions. That means if the demand is high, supply is less, the commodities may do very well. Likewise, the precious metals may do very well under the economic conditions which are not very suitable. If it is uncertainty which is there all over the place, gold might do very well, and rest of the times it may not do anything at all. So behavioral aspect of different asset classes is the knowledge that you must assimilate before you decide to pick up a certain asset class. Step 4 is strategy, or how to strategize. Which strategy should I adopt? How should I blend different asset classes? It is common knowledge that all asset classes will not perform simultaneously. When you have a bull market in equity, the fixed income may not be performing very well. If you are passing through a low inflation period, the commodities may not give you any return. But if you are passing through a high inflationary period, commodities could be doing very well. So under such circumstances, you should know how to blend different asset classes in the strategy that you make. This is the place where people falter. This is a great game of judgment. This is where the professionals will score over individual investors. Professionals will know exactly how the asset allocation has to be done, how blending has to be done, and how it should be correlated with the mindset, age and affordability of the individual investors. If you are a do-it-yourself investor, this is where your mastery should come. It is common knowledge that all asset classes will not perform together. So find out, do you have a risk-taking ability? Do you have a withstanding ability if the assets become very volatile? What strategy you have to adopt? That is where you need to work on. I'll tell you some of the simple steps that you can follow. Always have all asset classes in your portfolio. Don't make it tilted towards only one asset class and completely negate all other asset classes. If you're working on your short-term needs, use fixed income. If you're attending on medium-term goals, make it a blended strategy, more of fixed income, less of equity or other asset classes. If you are working on your long-term goals, then strategize it in such a way that the most of the assets are put into volatile assets like your equity or could be real estate, or depending on what you feel the markets might do, invest towards volatile assets, but in the long term they will go through a capital appreciation ladder up and they will create wealth for you. So to summarize, short-term needs go towards fixed income, medium-term goals go towards a blend of mostly fixed income, a tinge of equity, and for long-term goals go for volatile assets like real estate and equity. That's the strategy you must adopt. I know you are getting tempted. I know you are telling me that I missed something. I discussed a lot of things. I did not discuss the basic thing. And the question that is there in your mind is, how much return will I get? You don't talk about return, you talk about everything else. Where is the return? The truth is, how much return you get, I do not know. Honestly, I'm speaking. The same thing I tell my clients. The same thing I do during my practice. How much return a customer is going to get is a question for which I have no answers. But I know certain things. The certain thing is, if I put this process correctly, returns will become a byproduct of this process. If you try to put the return first and start working backwards, make no mistake, you will not get the return. The trick to get a good return is a proper process. The proper process is explained in the first 4 steps. If you do the first 4 steps, don't even bother about what return you are going to get. You will get a great return. You will get a return which is more than the bank rate of return. You will get a return which is much higher than the underlying inflation. A simple thing to remember always in your investment is, you just have to cross 2 hurdles. Remember this, the more you simplify, more successful you will become. The 2 hurdles to cross is, your investment exercise should generate which is more than the bank rate of return if it is more applicable for short-term and medium-term goals, and for long-term goals it must beat inflation hands down. Don't put a number on 8%, 10%, 12%, 15%, 20%. These are all hypothetical numbers. They have no meaning. The wealth gets created when you are able to beat inflation. If your inflation is 2% and you get a return of 6%, you are making 4% over and above the inflation. You are creating wealth. If the inflation is 8% and you make 12%, 14%, that means you are making 4 to 6% over and above the inflation. The only thing that you have to keep in mind is, will I be able to beat inflation for long-term goals? Will I be able to beat the bank rate for the short-term and the medium-term goals? Keep only these 2 things in mind. The number that you have to put on the return is not possible to achieve or predict. You may disagree. Let anybody tells anything. This is the hard reality of investment world. See, the returns you get depends on a lot of factors. It depends on how much is the growth that will happen in the economy. Do you have control over it? Can you project it? You cannot. The rate of return from fixed income depends on the interest rate. Can you project the interest rate for next 10 years? I can broadly say it will fall down, but I cannot put a number on it. The interest rate which gets fixed by the Reserve Bank is a function of underlying inflation. So can you tell this is the exact inflation which is going to be there in next 5, 10, 15, 20 years? You cannot answer that. So interest depends on inflation. and the returns from your equity and other things depends on the growth parameters, which none of us will be able to project correctly. Therefore, don't bother about a particular number as a return that you should get. Simply understand that you should beat inflation hands down, and the purpose is achieved by that. I would like to clarify one point here. So when you pick up instrument, every instrument will not beat inflation. See, there are many people who go and comment on the videos that we have produced. Oh, this will not beat inflation. This will not beat inflation. It is not essential that everything should beat inflation. When I use the term, it must beat inflation. Your long-term planning must beat inflation, no doubt about it. Likewise, if you are looking at the portfolio as a whole, the portfolio as a whole should beat inflation in the long term. Individual instruments need not beat inflation. They may stay in line with inflation. For example, your bank fixed deposits may not beat inflation. It will not beat inflation. But if they are tax efficient, then they may stay in line with inflation. So you have to keep this point in mind, and don't choose an instrument and make that this will beat inflation. So that should be the 100% component of your investment strategy. No. Dear viewers, I have given you the process now. You could have been working on investing all these days or years before. I would like to hear from you through your comments. What is that you have followed in your life, and what is your success rate? What is the satisfaction that it has given you, and have you followed this process? If not, what is the process that you have followed? I am listening to you. Please leave your comments in the comment section below. Now that I have given you a working model, a thorough process which will ensure success in your life, I have given you this point. But there are things which can go wrong. In this process, what can go wrong? In spite of following the process to the core, still you don't get a return, or you will not achieve success in your investment journey. I would like to talk about this. If you are not aware about these problems that might come in future, then you might as well do a mistake and will not create success from this journey. Let's look at 2-3 of them. Number 1, you are a do-it-yourself investor. You have no external help. You are doing everything on your own. What happens is, it is like walking in a dark jungle without knowing which direction you are going. You get into a self-doubt. Am I doing right? Am I doing wrong? Is it the right approach? Have I done correctly or not? This self-doubt can create problems for you, and you think you come under the influence. No doubt. You could be a do-it-yourself investor. You may not have a financial planner or an advisor to help you, but you are helped by the media. You'll get WhatsApp messages, you watch the television, you read through the articles. Each thing that you do gives you some inputs, and you are starting to get influenced on that. Unless you know for yourself exactly what you have done is right, you get into a self-doubt and you come under the influence, and you run the risk of changing your plans in between, and this will create a disaster. Self-doubt can be conquered only with experience, and experience can come only with the passage of time, or you have to get the experienced people to help you. So self-doubt is one spoiler. The next spoiler is free advice. We have abundant free advice flowing all over. Your friends give you free advice, relatives gives free advice, during the parties you get free advice, television, newspaper channel, YouTube, social media, WhatsApp. Free advice is all over the place. Be deaf and be blind for the free advice. Never ask for advice from all these people. Why? Because that advice does not carry responsibility. That advice which comes freely is coming without understanding your position. Who knows your position very well? Either you know it very well, or your financial planner could be knowing, or your advisor could be knowing. But the guys who give you free advice do not know your life situation. So do not take any free advice. The free advice will spoil the sport. During a conversation, a friend of you will tell, oh, you should have purchased that stock. That stock is moving like a rocket. You get influenced and you change your plan. That should not happen. The third spoiler is emotions. You follow the process, you do everything correctly, and you come under the influence of emotions. You see a bull market unfolding and your portfolio is not catching up with the trends of the bull market because you have put an asset allocation in your portfolio. Some portion of your portfolio is behaving like a fixed income, some portion is behaving like an equity. Under the equity, you would have loaded large cap funds. They don't behave like a small cap fund or a mid cap fund. So you will come under the emotional help. You feel that I am left out. My friend is making more money. My colleague is making more money. Or everybody is telling on the television that this is where the money has to be made. And you get influenced on the emotions. To stay out of emotions, either you should be highly trained to do that or you need external help. Otherwise, we are all human beings. We get tempted. You mean to say, I don't come under emotions? I do come under emotions, but it used to happen during my younger years. I started my investing career literally 35 years before. I did all the mistakes what I'm preaching right now. So here is a man who has done abundant mistakes in the investing world, and I've learned through this. Today I will not come under the emotions. I will not get moved by anything that happens in the marketplace. We look at only data. We follow a rational approach. We work on a time-tested ideas. That's why it creates very, very successful outcomes. Dear viewers, you have heard me. I have given you the secret that I have followed. It's a working formula. You can do it yourself, or you can think that no, this is not for me, it is too much, it's complex, and it takes time for me to conquer all this. I need help. Yes, definitely you can ask for help. You can request for services of an advisor. You can make best use of our services as well. We have experts on the ground. We have panelists to cater to different needs of yours. It's just not the investment. It's just not building wealth. It is even for other things like real estate today in Dubai or in Mumbai, or chartered accountant services, or verification of documents, or to invest your money in the mutual funds. You name it. We have most of the services covered under our umbrella of services that we offer for you. How can you reach to us? If you have an intention, just send a WhatsApp message on the number that is shown here, or in the description box below we have given a link. Just click on the link, it takes you to WhatsApp. Send us a message and one of our team members will help you to design the plan that you are looking for. Don't delay, send that message now. Dear viewers, hope the video that I have done today helped you to understand the method that I follow to create a very successful investment journey. If it did give you an idea what I do and doing this, how it creates successful investment outcome, do like this video. Do not forget to share this video with your near and dear ones. And if you have not yet subscribed, do consider subscribing to this channel. Hit that subscribe button now and press the bell icon. Whenever I release the video, you will be notified. Thank you very much for watching this episode on NRI Money Clinic. I shall be back with you with yet another topic in yet another video next Friday. Till then, stay safe.
Press the bell icon for more details and subscribe our channel.